Australia, the land down under, is experiencing a poker boom ignited by a native son and reigning world champion, Joe Hashim. Melbourne's spectacular Crown Casino plays host to the largest poker tournament in Australian history, boasting a prize pool of more than $3 million, with $1 million going to the winner. Recognized as one of the world's premier tournaments, the event has drawn the biggest names in the game from around the globe to compete with the best from down under and see who'll come out on top in the PartyPoker.net Aussie Millions. Well, with less than 70 players remaining from a field of over 400, the competition has seen the exit of some of the game's biggest names. But one early favorite, the Cowboy, Kenneth James, hasn't disappointed. Kenneth brings his gregarious persona and formidable skills to our feature table, along with last year's champion, Jamil Dia, and poker's fiercest competitor, Phil Ivey. It's the PartyPoker.net Aussie Millions. And we welcome you to Melbourne, Australia. We are at the Crown Casino. I'm Barry Tompkins, along with world-renowned poker expert Michael Koenig. Here's the chip count at the main table. Phil Ivey, and it seems he's been there forever, still our chip leader. Kenneth James been playing very well. Jamil Dia, he won all the money last year. Jerry Fitt is right there. The short stack is Daniel Cairns. And with that, we begin play on this session.
And there's Kathy Liebert, the formidable American. She has not been involved in hardly anything, Barry, and you know, the time to sit around and wait is starting to pass. The blinds are 1 in 2,000 with a 300 ante. You gotta mix it up.
Cool. Yeah, you ever find a hand you don't like?
Kenneth James will always give you a running commentary, talking to Jamil Dia, saying, ever find a hand you didn't like?
Dia smooth called in the small blind. Kenneth James in the big blind is going to put in a raise and see if Dia really does want to tangle with a 6-3.
The raise is to 9,000.
And Dia may think a 9,000 investment is worth it if he can snap off a big hand. James has a lot of chips to play for.
Dia's hesitating a little bit, not going to play this hand. So Kenneth James is really rolling right now. Why don't we take a minute, just talk about this game of Texas Hold'em.
Yeah, the Aussie Millions uses no limit Texas Hold'em. Each player gets 2 down cards, the whole cards. Then they may call, raise, or fold. The dealer then puts out 3 community cards, which we call the flop. There's more betting, raising, or folding. And a 4th card, the turn card. Another round of betting. And finally, the ultimate card, the river card. Players can move all their chips at any time. This is called all in. At the end of the hand, players reveal their whole cards, and the best 5-card hand wins and takes the pot.
I spike up my hair, make sure it don't look like toupee. Toupee.
Well, his hair's awake now. His game's been awake. I think Galanis' arms have gotten shorter.
Now, this is the point in the tournament where one tends to get those alligator arms. You don't want to be shoving too many chips and putting them at risk when you're getting real close to the prize money.
Jamil Dia doesn't have alligator arms, though. He seems to play every hand. 8,000 was the bet to James, and he called.
Kathy Liebert with a mighty 3 deuce is probably going to have to exit the proceedings.
King Jack from Cairns. Now, he hasn't had a lot to play either. Might consider this, but doesn't.
2 players.
2 players to the flop, James and Dia, experienced players. Here is the flop, 8-deuce-6 on the flop. Not much for either player.
8,000. 8,000.
8,000 from Dia again.
Dia, the reigning champion of the Aussie Millions, plays a power poker game, constantly putting pressure on his opponents. Kenneth James calls, hoping to take advantage of his superior position. He gets to act last. Now Dia checks. James could interpret that as a sign of weakness. Dia has taken the foot off the accelerator and slowed down a little bit. This could be James's spot to take the lead.
I think that's exactly right, Michael. And 23,000 is the bet to Dia.
Now remember, Kenneth James has nothing at this point, merely a king high. And Jamil Dia's ace high is in fact the best hand right now. But his betting pattern seems to indicate he's not real confident with merely an ace high. Remember, if Kenneth James simply has a deuce in his hand, Kenneth James would be the leader right now. Dia doesn't know what his opponent has. All he knows is if he calls here, on the next card he'll have to call again, and so he says adieu.
He does say adieu, and on the other hand, Kenneth James saying thank you very much. So Kenneth James is really rolling right at the moment. And Dia will just have to wait for another day. Bonus coverage now as Mark Voss is all in against Joe Hashim, the World Series of Poker champion.
And on the flop, Mark Voss has middle pair. Joe Hashim is going to have to spike an ace or a queen to eliminate Mark Voss. Well, now he's got a straight draw as well. Any ace, queen, or 10.
It is a 6, and Mark Voss doubles up.
It is a 6, and Mark Voss has doubled up against Joe Hashim.
This is the look of a befuddled, amused, and confused human being.
And that is the look of one who is not amused.
Yes, not amused and not confused. Well, the PartyPoker.net Aussie Millions are brought to you by PartyPoker.net, the world's largest poker school. Welcome back to the PartyPoker.net Aussie Millions. Now let's take a look at the structure for this year's tournament. We start with 418 players, each putting up $10,000 for the buy-in. The total prize pool is over $3 million with a payout to the top 48 places. Michael, this is the point in the tournament, I have to think, that we start to separate the wheat from the chaff. We began with over 400. We're down to less than 70.
Yeah, fewer than 20 eliminations left, and everybody's going to be in the money. At this point, the big stacks start feasting on the small stacks. When there are players at your table who you can tell are sweating the money, that's the time to take advantage. In poker, you're always looking for moments of weakness. This is the time in the tournament when the big guys get even bigger.
I don't think there's any question about it. This is a pivotal point in this tournament, but it does seem that the younger